Week 4, buy and sell is here. How are we doing, everybody? It is Braxton from Angle Fantasy Basketball here with another edition of the weekly buy and sell. So, jumping right into it, my top buy this week, Kyshawn George. Kyshawn George is somebody that I was really high on coming into the season. There were some concerns from me personally about his fantasy game and what exactly he could do besides shoot three-pointers, but he's shown that he's able to rack up some additional stats. The steals and the blocks are there. Especially with some really nice games this week. He's had several games this year with multiple blocks. I believe his first appearance of the season had 4 blocks in it. These are kind of coming out of nowhere, but it's a really nice surprise for people who have him in dynasty leagues. And now he's trending towards a redraft pickup this week, especially with the Wizards having 4 games. He's somebody who I know Malcolm Brogdon, the return of him is on the horizon, but he's not really somebody who I think is going to be affected by that. He seems to be playing more minutes at the wing. I know Fantrax has him listed as a point guard, shooting guard. He's not a point guard. He plays the 2-3. And the Wizards, even this early in the season, seem more than content to play their young guys a ton. I know Kyle Kuzma's been banged up a little bit, and when he returns, maybe Kyshawn sees a little bit less usage. But in these games that he has been seeing this extended usage, we're talking 33, 34 plus minutes a night over the last few, I should say. I think he's demonstrated to this Wizards team that he's able to put up some nice games and contribute to not necessarily winning basketball, but maybe more so competitive basketball. He's only owned in 20% of Yahoo leagues, and like I mentioned, the Wizards have 4 games this upcoming week. Perfect guy to grab as a streamer, or just to ride out those 4 games. And if he pops off, you can keep him. But and then if there's a dud, or maybe you need the spot for streaming, there's no harm, no foul. You can drop him. So number 2, it's going to be Ochai Agbaji. He is only 37% owned on Yahoo. We did see quickly return this past weekend, but Ochai is still playing a massive role. What is really interesting to me about Agbaji is that his efficiency is super high, which I don't know if it's going to stay at 57% for the rest of the season. Seems a bit unrealistic, but this is a pretty high volume. He's taking 9.5 shots per night. What I should say, the part that I'm really excited about is he's racking up these counting stats while there's under 1 turnover a game. So he's only averaging, at the time of recording, 0.8 turnovers per game. He's doing 1.7 3-pointers per game, 13.8 points, 4.7 rebounds, 2.1 assists, and 1.4 steals. Now, I think the threes and the steals are pretty sustainable for him, especially if he stays in this huge role that he's been playing in. He's been playing over 31 minutes per night so far this year, at least until I mentioned quickly returning. That seems to be it seems to be more affecting more so Jamal Shed as well as Davion Mitchell. Whereas Agbaji seems to be kind of locked into a giant role here still. And he's really played his way into this role. And I think he's going to be kind of locked into it, at least until Scotty returns, which is still a few weeks away. He's only 37% owned on Yahoo, and he's number 74 on the year. That is too low, in my opinion. The rostered percentage, I should say. There's guys much worse than him that have higher roster percentages, and I'm not sure why. I mean, he contributes all around. There's the assists really aren't the only thing that you like. I mean, the free throw is kind of low at 68%, but the volume, he's not really taking any free throws. He's averaging 1.6 per game. So it's really not going to affect you all that much. The steals are really nice. And like I mentioned, doing all this with under 1 turnover per game can be incredibly valuable to teams that are relying on efficiency stats like the percentages and the turnover. So Agbaji, somebody I'm really excited about. I do know that the Raptors only have 3 games this next week, but he's not really a streamer type to me. He's more of somebody like a 3 or 4 week hold depending on when Scotty returns. So somebody I'm really excited about. My number 3 buy is going to be Royce O'Neale in the wake of the Kevin Durant injury. Kevin Durant is out at least 2 weeks. There is going to be some usage that needs to be sucked up in Phoenix. I know Tyus Jones is there taking a lot of the touches, and he should see a nice bump as well. In addition to Grayson Allen should see a nice bump. But Royce O'Neale is somebody who has been playing really well, even with Kevin Durant in the lineup. He's one of my all-time favorite streamers. He's really in that elite streamer category. He shoots threes. He can score a little bit, if he's making a threes, I should say. The boards are there. You can get some nice out of position assists at forward on some nights. He is only averaging 2.3 on the year, but we have seen him demonstrate the ability to get up to 6 or 7, not per game, but maybe 1 game per week, something like that. The steals are 0.7, which is not great, but the blocks are at 0.9, which is a little bit uncharacteristic for him. But if he's riding high, let's just ride it. Just like Agbaji, he's doing all this with less than 1 turnover per game. I love these guys who can kind of do it all. And Royce O'Neale is somebody who I think might see, I mentioned the assists are down. We could see the assists tick back up a little bit with Kevin Durant out of the lineup. Grayson Allen, I do think, is in line for a little bit of a bounce back. But the Tyus Jones addition has hurt Allen the most out of anybody on this team. So I think Royce, especially if he sees a nice uptick in minutes, I mean, he's only playing 25.6 per night. I would assume with KD out that we see those go up. He's ranked number 68 on the year. And yeah, like I mentioned, he's not going to hurt you anywhere. And he's definitely somebody who I'm grabbing as just like Agbaji, like I don't want to say long-term pickup, but, a 2 to 3 week pickup at minimum. He's definitely somebody that should already be rostered, though, even before this Kevin Durant industry, just until he cools down. So moving to the sells, my number one sell is going to be Scoot Henderson. So it's anybody who has talked to me knows I am kind of a big Scoot Henderson hater. Ever since the Hornets got clowned for taking Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson, how could they have the audacity to take Brandon Miller over this can't miss prospect of Scoot Henderson? I really just have not been a fan of Scoot, and he's been terrible. Last year, I think we saw him outside the top 300 on the year, and he has managed to improve it to 208 currently. The free throw percentage is really the only, I guess, in the assists as well, are the only thing that is worth anything in Scoot's game right now. He's not making any threes. The turnovers are still astronomical at 3 per game. And the three turnovers per game is palatable if he was averaging more than 4.5 assists per game. So Scoot is kind of just, he's turning the ball over. He's racking up, I guess, counting stats somewhat. He hasn't recorded a block yet this year, and the steals are under 1. He's really hurting you more than he's helping you still. He's 37% owned on Yahoo currently, and Scoot is somebody who can lose you weeks in multiple categories, like field goal and turnovers. I personally would easily rather have somebody like TJ McConnell over Scoot, because you know what you're getting with TJ. You're going to get the steals. You're going to get probably the same amount of assists. Granted, probably not the same amount of upside or, perceived upside, I guess, that Scoot could have. But this Blazers team is weirdly deep. Like, they're not good, but they have I don't know, probably like 13 or maybe 14 guys who they want to be able to give minutes on any given night. Now, Scoot is not going to be Scoot is going to be rather prioritized, but the minutes are kind of fluctuating with him. He's averaging 25.8 on the year, and Chauncey Billups still seems very interested in working in a lot of his players. We've even seen guys like Ryan Rupert play significant minutes, on a given night this early in the season. That's concerning to me. From a floor perspective on Scoot. And yeah, he's definitely a drop for me if you're holding in redrafts. Maybe he pops off towards the end of the year, but it's not something I'm looking forward to and or counting on. The turnovers are going to be terrible all year, and unless he's able to get those assists up to maybe 6.5 or 7, he's not somebody that's going to be worth the field goal sink, as well as the lack of 3-pointers. That's really the issue, is the field goal is so bad, but he's not even making 3-pointers. So yeah, Scoot, big drop for me. Don't panic in Dynasty, I guess I should say. Although I'm not very high on him to begin with, but I wouldn't panic sell him or anything like that. But yeah, Scoot, just not somebody I'm liking right now. And rounding out this week is going to be Brandon Podziemski. So when Steph went down, we were kind of hoping for some big games from Pods. Did not really see it materialize. And I think a lot of people thought he was going to be taking much bigger of a role here early in the season. He's averaging under 10 points per game. The rebounds and the assists are nice. He's averaging 5.5 rebounds and 4 assists, and the steals are at 1.1 per game. So he's definitely doing better than Scoot. Now the field goal percentage is under 40, but he's ranked 183 on the year. It's not good, and part of that is his field goal is, or excuse me, his free throw is terrible. It is low volume, and you will hear me say, the low volume guys really aren't going to be that impactful to you. He's averaging around one per game, but from a guy like this who you want to see the free throw be higher, especially if the field goal is going to be this bad, and you want to see him making more threes. So just he's a bit overvalued in my opinion, I should say. He's a nice low end guy to have on the back end of your roster in redraft leagues right now, but not somebody I would be counting on big nights from, as well as season long production. I don't think he's undroppable by any means. And I think that would have been crazy to say to a lot of people early in the season, especially in some dynasty leagues. I was in some dynasty startups this coming year, or this past season, and we saw, or past off season rather, I should say, and we saw him go absurdly high, top 65, top 70 type guy. He's not there, and not to say he won't get there eventually, but it is concerning to me that he's taking on this huge role. Steve Kerr obviously messing around with the lineups a bunch, but he's not really producing early in the season, and there's a lot of people who thought he would be. So I guess my verdict on Pods, not undroppable, but also not somebody I'm really looking to acquire in dynasty leagues. I guess there is kind of a buy low window if you're a big Podziemski believer. I am personally not of that belief. I think Kerr's rotations are just a little bit too wild for me, and just doesn't really have the skill set that I go for. I mean, he's got the assists and the steals, yes, but both percentages being bad, as well as the 3-pointers being under one per game in a 28-minute per night role, just really doesn't do it for me. I mean, you got to be punting, field goal and free throw, and threes. I mean, what kind of build is that to be able to utilize him to his full capabilities? So Podziemski, not really somebody I'm very excited on. Maybe until late season, if the Warriors fall out of it for some reason, we see him take a big step forward. He just needs more touches. He needs to get those points up, and the efficiency definitely needs to go up. So but with that being said, that is going to wrap up the week 4 buy and sell. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check us out on our website, anglefantasybasketball.wordpress.com. Follow us on Twitter, anglefantasybb. Check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.